In this video, we're going to complete an analysis of M&M data that we've collected. And our goal is to test the color distribution that the M&M Mars company reports by looking at a sample of M&Ms that we've purchased in the store. So this data has been collected over a period of about 5 years by students in the Math 120 class, and students can choose to purchase either a plain bag of M&Ms or a peanut bag, and using a survey they submit the number of each color that they have. I then compile the data and give it back to the class to complete the analysis. I'm only using some of those values, so the numbers that I'll come up with in this video are different than the numbers that you'll come up with. In fact, each semester I add on the new values from new students. So each time we do this, it's going to be a little bit different. Now, a couple of things I want to point out. We are completing the analysis for both the plain and peanut M&Ms. So if you look at the bottom of the workbook, you'll see that we've got different tabs. Right now we're on the tab that contains the plain M&M data. And if we click here where it says peanut, then you can see the peanut M&M data there. Okay, but I'll just be doing the demonstration on our plain M&M data. Also, I want to point out something, and that is this split screen. This is something that I think is just convenient. You don't have to keep it, but Excel allows you to split your screen vertically and horizontally so that you can scroll or control scrolling in each of those halves separately. So for instance, I want to keep the orange, blue, red, all these color labels up here so that I can see them all the time. So when I scroll down here beneath that, those headings stay in place. So how did I get that there? Well, first of all, how do I remove it? If you don't like it, just double click on it. That way when you scroll, you don't see those headings. But I, again, like to see them. And if I wanted to put it back, I would click in a cell where I want my screen to be split. It's going to place that split above that cell and to the left of that cell. So I'll go to View and click on Split. And so you can see it's placed the splits above and to the left. I don't want the vertical split, so I'll just double click it and it's gone. And I really want this one just to be right beneath those label headings. So I clicked, I'm holding, and I drug the bar up, and now I'm releasing it. And so beneath I can control that separately from above, but I really want to keep those things in place above. All right, so our first goal is to complete a relative frequency distribution. So I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of my numbers, and I'm going to type totals. And if you don't know the formula for getting the sum, on the Home tab, there's a feature that lets you do auto sum. It takes a guess at what it is you want to sum up. And so I did that. I'm going to hit enter. Notice it says B2 to B325, and I can scroll up and see everything that it has highlighted. That is what I want to add up. So we'll just hit enter there. All right, or we could have typed it in this case, equals sum, and I did my left parenthesis, and then I just highlight the values or the cells that I want to sum, and then end that with right parenthesis. Notice this one says C2 to C325. Okay, and enter. All right, either one of those, it gives us the same result. And then for the others, we can just click, hold, and drag on our magic fill handle. Okay, and it copies the formula relative to its new location. So notice that for the sum of the red, this says sum of D2 to D325. And for the sum of the green, it's E2 to E325 and so forth. All right, now that I have those sums, I want to copy them into a table for my frequency distribution. So I'm going to highlight all of the sums, and then I'll use Control C on my keyboard to copy them. And then I'm going to scroll back up near the top here, and in a space a little bit away from my data, I'll click in a cell there. I'll go to my paste board, my clipboard, and I'm going to click on the down arrow, and I'm going to paste the values. Okay. The reason I'm doing this is because we really do want those sums. If we pasted without pasting the values, what it would have actually pasted was the formulas. And the formulas, of course, would calculate relative to their new position. And that's not what we wanted. So I've got those there. They're still highlighted. And these are just values now, not formulas. So I'm going to copy them again. Control C. And I'll click over here. And this time I want to paste them, but I want to paste their transpose. So I clicked on the little clipboard there, and this one is the paste transpose option. So it turns them around for me so they're lined up vertically instead of horizontally. All right. I'm going to do the same thing for the colors. So of course I want orange next to the total for orange. So I've highlighted my orange data. I'm going to do Control C to copy it. I'll click right next to the sum for the orange data. And when I go to my paste board, I'm going to select transpose. And so it puts those titles there, or those colors there, in transpose position for me. I'm going to go ahead and take the bold away from those because I don't think it really needs to be bold. And I'll put labels. So we got our color and our frequency. All right, and then we also want to get a relative frequency. Now, notice, well, I'm going to delete these other values because we don't need them anymore. Notice that the relative frequency kind of ran over. So there are two things I can do. First of all, when I click on relative frequency, I'm still on the Home tab. I can tell it to wrap the text. That allows for me to have more than one line of text within a cell. And then we're going to just center it and then, of course, make it bold like we did the other headings. Now, to compute those relative frequencies, I want to first get my total frequency for all of the M&Ms. And we could use auto sum again. Okay, and just check to make sure that it's highlighted the right area. We want to sum these frequencies. And hit enter. And then I'm going to get the relative frequency for each color by starting with equals. I click on the frequency. We're going to divide by the total frequency. Okay. Hit enter. Now notice if I go back to this formula that I just typed in and I drag down, we get some kind of an error. Okay. Our total frequency is located in cell K9. But when I click on that first cell where we have the area or the error, we get division by cell K10. That's not what we want. And in the next one, you'll see it'll be division by K11. It's doing that relative reference again. And we don't want it to do that for the thing that we're dividing by. For the top number, yes, but not for the bottom. And so what I'm going to do is anchor that particular cell. And we do that by adding in a $ or a string in front of the number. So I'm going to add in a string for in front of the 9 and hit enter. Now, when I drag this down, Okay, it gives me the appropriate values because each time it's dividing by cell K9. And we can check to make sure that we've got an appropriate sum of 1, and we do. So that's pretty much our relative frequency distribution. We can give it an appropriate title like color distribution of a sample of peanut. I'm sorry, these are the plain M&Ms. Okay. All right, it did a wrap for us, so that's good. But I really want it centered over all of this since it's the title for the entire thing. So I'm going to click, well, I'm going to highlight all 3 of these cells, and then I'm going to merge these cells together. And so now it's one big giant cell that looks good. I'll increase my font size since it's our title. Okay, however you feel is appropriate. And that's great. All right, so as far as preparing this frequency distribution in the Word document, what I would do is just copy this, okay, by highlighting it and then selecting Control C. And then in your Word document, you may have already given this a title. Maybe you've already said some other things about it, but I can paste using Control V that relative frequency distribution into it. So it should be pretty easy. Once we prepared it in Microsoft Excel, we can just paste it into our Word document, and we can still make comments about it in our Word document. Let's see. I want to get out of the table, so we'll click beneath it, and then whatever comments you need to make, you can make those there. Now, let's go on and prepare our pie charts. So we're going to use or create a pie chart using the colors and the frequencies. So I've got those highlighted, and I'm going to go to Insert, and they've got different charts or an area for charts here. Here's the pie charts. So I'm going to choose one of the 3D formats. Okay. And it pretty much does a good job of giving us the pie chart without a whole bunch of effort. Of course, any chart or graph or table needs to be able to stand alone. So 100 years from now, people know what it represents. And so right now, of course, we need to change this title to something more appropriate, like color distribution of plain M&Ms. And a pie chart should also display the percentages. So there are a couple of different options here under chart tools. You could just choose one of those that you think is appropriate. Okay, I kind of like, well, that one doesn't have percentages. So it's important that we have those percentages. So choose whichever one you like. Okay, I'll choose one that doesn't necessarily have them there already and show you how we can get the percentages there. Okay. All right. So to get those percentages there, if the format that you choose doesn't have them, I'm going to click on the pie. Notice all of the dots around the pie. That means that the entire thing is selected. Okay. Then I'm going to right click on any one of the pieces, and we're going to add data labels. And I'll click add data labels again. And what it adds at first would be the frequencies. We don't want frequencies in a pie chart. We want percentages. So I'm going to click on those frequencies and then right click, and I want to format these data labels. And so you can choose exactly what you want it to display. We might choose category name. I'm going to deselect the value, but I do want the percentages. Um, and then that's pretty much that. The last thing I want to do is change these colors, because remember, part of our definition of statistics is making a presentation of data. And presentation of data should be easy to interpret, it should be intuitive. So, since we're talking about colors, it would make sense that each segment would coordinate with the color that it represents. It really doesn't make sense for us to have an orange segment that's represented by blue. So I want to change these colors. So I'm going to click on the pie, and then I'm going to click again right here on the orange. Notice before I do that, the entire pie is selected. Now when I click again just on the orange piece, the dots are only around that orange segment. And I can choose the different fill pattern. I'll say solid, and I want it to be orange. And so we've got orange there, okay? Then I'll go over to the brown segment. Make sure you're clicking on the pie and not the label. So still we want a solid fill, or however you want to do it. And I'm going to change this to brown. Okay, and for yellow, all right, that's better. And now, if we want to, we can take the actual words off of the pie since we can see the colors. Okay, so I'll go back to Format Data Labels, and I'm going to deselect category name. Okay, last thing I want to do with this one is I want to make the font bigger and more able to stand out. So I'm going to click on the percentages, and on the home screen I can change the size of those fonts. I can also change the color so that it stands out a little bit more. Okay, we want to make sure we're able to read the information that's there. Okay, and that's pretty much it. So to copy this, I can click on the pie, or rather click on the entire chart. And so you'll see that there are notches around the chart indicating that it's selected. I'll do Control C on my keyboard, and then I can switch to that Word document and Control V, and it pastes the chart there. And then after that, I'm able to make any comments that I want about the chart. There are several questions that I ask you about where you'll compare your results for an individual bag to what the company reports, and then compare our results as a class to what the company reports. And there may be a few other questions. Whatever questions are there, if you want to receive the full points for this assignment, make sure that you answer the questions. I've included in the instructions what M&M Mars reports their color distribution to be. So you can reference that there. And if you have any questions about this, please let me know. Thank you.